Okay, I'm going to live life on the edge. I haven't even fully uploaded the last video, but I think I have some room on here now. So we're just going to go crazy and keep reading. Anyways, Aaron Mac BS detector here. And I enjoy nothing more than just detecting the BS. It's like really interesting to me to know that literally everything that we have been told is utter shite. It's just total BS. And, I just, how sure we are in life that like something is this way. And then you find out, oh, okay. Like I had to repent, dude, of praying to Yahweh. I had to repent. But you know what? I prayed and I said, if this is not a name I'm supposed to be using or I'm not supposed to be praying to, please show me. And then legit like a month later or something, I come across a content creator from a friend who's not even a Christian, but who has not been able to reconcile the Old Testament God with the nature of the Father, who is the image as Jesus, right? So anyways, I'm going to digress on that part, and we are still just chugging along reading Tavistock Institute and just socially engineering the masses, and this is for fair use, education, commentary, all that good stuff, okay? And we are on the next header in chapter 3 of Unaliving the King, Lee Harvey Oswald. Quote, Oswald means divine strength. The diminutive form of the word is os or oz, denoting strength. Divine strength is integral to the king unaliving rite. The role which divine strength played in the daily goddess rule, unaliving of the king ritual, should be given careful consideration. Quote, one should also note the significance of Jack Ruby's unaliving or destroying of Oswald in reference to the, quote, ruby slippers of the Wizard of Oz, which one may deride as a fairy tale, but which nevertheless symbolizes the immense power of, quote, ruby light, otherwise known as the laser. This is so freaking interesting. Quote, Oswald may have undergone biotelemetry implantation in the Soviet Union while a, quote, volunteer at a behavioral control center at Minsk. Oswald roomed with Cubans and was allegedly friendly with a Castro man identified only as being a key man. The key, of course, is one of the most important symbols in Masonry and the symbol of silence. I did not know that. Okay, Arlington necrology. Quote, the Kennedy and Oswald burials were both at, quote, Arlington, JFK, and the National Cemetery near Washington, D.C., and Oswald at Rose Hill Cemetery near Arlington, Texas. Quote, Arlington is a word of significance in Masonic sorcery and mysticism, and it has a hidden meaning that ties it in with necrolatry. Necrolatry. What is that? Is that like necromancy? Like, what is necrolatry? Like, we don't have to Google that. And once I upgrade my phone, we definitely will. This is so crazy. Okay, quote, at the Kennedy gravesite, there is a stone circle, and in its middle, a fire that is called an eternal flame. The fire in the middle of the circle represents a point in the circle, the same type of symbolism that is recognizable in Kennedy's bier and coffin being in the center of the rotunda in the Capitol. A point in a circle symbolized the sun in ancient sun worship. It was also a symbol of fecundity, with the point symbolizing a phallus and the circle of a JJ. Funerary rites is the next header. Quote, in the ancient mysteries, the aspirant could not claim a participation in the highest secrets until he had been placed in the pastos, bed, or coffin. The placing of him in the coffin was called the symbolic death of the mysteries, and his deliverance was termed a rising from the dead. The, quote, mind, says an ancient writer quoted by Stobaeus, is afflicted in death just as it is in the initiation and the mysteries, and the word answers to word as well as thing to thing, for burial is to die and death to be initiated. The coffin in Masonry is found on the tracing boards of the early part of the last century and has always constituted a part of the symbolism of the third degree. where the reference is precisely to the same as that of the pastos in the ancient mysteries. Quote, President Kennedy sat at the head of a coffin table at the White House. To his back, over a fireplace, hung a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, an unalived president. Smashinated. I'm afraid to say certain words. I don't want to get shadow banned or whatever, or anything taken down. Okay. On either side of the picture were urns that resembled the type called cinerary urns, which are vessels in which the ashes of the dead are kept. Quote, a book about JFK was called 3 Steps to the White House, and Masonry are what is known as the 3 symbolical steps. The 3 grand steps symbolically lead from this life to the source of all knowledge, end quote. Quote, it must be evident to every master mason without further explanation that the 3 steps are taken from the darkness to a place of light, under figuratively or really over a coffin, the symbol of death, to teach symbolically that the passage from darkness and ignorance of this life through death and the light and knowledge of eternal life. And this from earliest times was the true symbolism of the step. It makes me think of the Leonard Skinner song. Is it Give Me 2 Steps or Give Me 3 Steps? Give me 3 steps, mister. Give me 3 steps towards the door. Give me 3 steps, mister, and you never see me no more. That's a little bit too low for my register, but you know what I was saying. And you never see me no more. For sure. If you're from the South, you know Skinner, baby. Anyways, I think it's Give Me 3 Steps. Give me 3 steps. Give me 3 steps. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So that's another little connection in this web of all things that they say aren't connected, but are obviously connected. Okay. Quote, the body of President Kennedy was placed in a coffin, which was positioned in the center of a circle under the Capitol dome. The catafalque, I don't know, what a weird word, I've never seen it before. Catafalque, catafalque was, quote, a temporary structure of wood appropriately decorated with funeral symbols and representing a tomb or cenotaph. It forms a part of the decorations of a, quote, sorrow lodge. This Masonic encyclopedia entry refers to the ceremonies of the 3rd degrees in lodges of the French Rite. So there's a Scottish Rite and a French Rite, and who knows how many other different rites. Sorry that I was singing. Anyways, I'm like embarrassed now because I should have been, I could sing better than that, and I know better than that. Anyways, quote, pictures taken of the Kennedy coffin and catafalque show these 2 props of the funerary rite as a point in a circle. Fecundity is the symbolic signification of the point within a circle, and it is a derivation of ancient sun worship. Quote, in the lore of mystery cults and fertility religions was invariably the legend of the death and the hero god, and the disappearance of his body. In the subsequent search and supposed finding of the body, we see the contrivance of an elaborate psychological ruse. The body was said to have been concealed by the killer or killers of the hero god. The concealment of the body was called aphanism and is a rite in the Masonic 3rd degree. Anyone interested in comprehending the mechanics of group mind control would do well to study the 3rd and 9th degrees in particular, and all the grades of Masonry in general. The disappearance of the body, this aphanism, is to be found in the Smashination of President Kennedy. Quote, the president's brain was removed and his body buried without it. Dr. Cyril Wecht, chief medical examiner of Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, past president of the American Academy of Forensic Scientists and a professor of pathology and law, received permission from the Kennedy family in 1972 to view the autopsy materials at the National Archives. When he routinely asked to see the brain, Wecht was told it was missing, along with the microscopic slides of the brain. Marian Johnson, curator of the Warren Commission's material at the archives, said, quote, the brain's not here. We don't know what happened to it. Kind of like that telemetry data when they first went to the moon. Remember that? And but what's his fuck said? It's a painful process to build it back again. We lost the technology of calling the moon from a landline, and the obvious lunar lander that was made from like shower curtain rods and tarp and duct tape. Real high tech shit. They lost that technology. Just like they lost Kennedy's brain, I guess. Unbelievable. Okay. Quote, and if and when the brain is recovered, the entire process will have to have been completed under the terms uresis. And the Masonic mysteries are symbolic ladders. On the Masonic tracing board of 1776, there is a ladder with 3 steps, a significant revision of the usual ladder, and such references 7 steps. Quote, there are, of course, all sorts of ladders. The Brahmanical ladder, 7 steps, which sounds like it's Indian, or I am having brain farts. What is the dang religion they practice in India? Hinduism. Good Lord. Let's see. The Kadosh ladder, which is clearly Jewish. The Rosicrucian, which is quote-unquote Christian. Jacob's ladder. And all these had 7 steps except Jacob's. It says various numbers have been attributed. The Kabbalistic ladder, which is also Jewish. And then there is the old, quote, Tim Finnegan's ladder, end quote, which is known to some as the ladder of misfortune, and it is seemingly comprised of one false step after another. Quote, after the Kennedy coffin was removed from the center of the Capitol Rotunda Circle, it was taken with pageantry to the street for viewing. The funeral procession made an unplanned stop on Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the Occidental restaurant, and a picture was taken of the flag-draped Kennedy coffin with the word Occidental featured prominently over it. In Masonry and in the lore of Egyptian jackal god Anubis, a dead person is said to have gone west. Several months after the Kennedy funeral, Occidental Life, an insurance branch of the Transamerica Corporation, ran an advertisement for group life insurance, which it proclaimed to be, quote, new, but contained a term that was indeed original. The inferential weird claim that made it, until now, there was only one way to cash in on group insurance, end quote. Apparently, some rather profound changes were made in the manner of things as they were after, quote, the unaliving of the king, and become a fait accompli. These fucking insurance companies too, dude. They're on the take. All these companies, all these NGOs, all these people, all these actors, all these musicians, all of these teachers, heads of state, professors, scientists, all the high-ups, they're all in on this in one way or another and at one level or another, okay? It's like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. I'm fairly certain he was in it, but we ain't in it, okay? So, okay. Before JFK began his Jornada del Muerto, or Journey of Death, he was photographed with Yugoslavian dictator Tito on the winding stairs in the White House. Tito is a significant name in Masonry since it was the title given to Prince Haradim, the first judge and provost said to be appointed by King Solomon. The Tito was a reputed favorite of Solomon, whose temple was a hotbed of thievery, money-changing, male and female prostitution, and sorcery. This ancient Tito presided over the lodge of attendants of this temple and was one of the, quote, 12 knights of the 12 tribes of Israel. That's why the OT is starting to look a little sus to me, if you want to know the real truth of the matter. Anyways, quote, President, it's like I'm a BS detector. You know what I'm saying? It's just starting to look a little sus to me. Particularly because of some of these, like King Solomon, you know, he was the wisest king ever, really. Well, it doesn't seem like it was very wise because he was communing with demons and doing all other manner of evil shit. And, you know, so what do you even mean? He was the wisest. Excuse me. I just, certain things are starting to just look sus. You know what I mean? When it comes to the Old Testament and a lot of the stuff that we've been taught, because the Jays have taken authority pretty much over all of it and the teaching of all of, or most of it. And I honestly, I believe it's quite irrelevant in light of the new and final testament of God, which is Jesus Christ. You know, former things have passed away, right? So why are we even like reading that shit? It's irrelevant, I feel like. Anyways, I digress. And I'm probably going to lose some, what 4 subscribers I have. Like, you know, don't get me wrong. It's just my opinion. And I'm literally not even sure. I'm still waiting for the Most High to reveal to me like what it really is. And hopefully eventually I'll get an answer. And, you know, and then I'll share with the class. But until then, that's just the BS I'm starting to detect. Anyways, several months after the Kennedy funeral. Okay, we already did that. Okay, President Kennedy preceded Tito down the stairs to a portrait of the assassinated President Garfield, where he was photographed, and another picture was taken on the stairs before a picture of Lincoln, the Lincoln Continental limousine in which Kennedy was shot. John F. Kennedy, the one and only Catholic president of the United States, was a human scapegoat of pharmakos. Pharmakos or pharmakvos can mean enchantment with drugs and sorcery, or, quote, beaten, crippled, or immolated, end quote. In alchemy, the unaliving of the king was symbolized by a crucified snake on a Tav cross, a variant of the crucifixion of Jesus. Jesus Christ was tortured and murdered as the result of the intrigue of men of the Temple of Solomon who hated and feared him. You hear that? The Temple of Solomon? Who followed who? Yahweh? Did he really follow Yahweh though? Or is that what they say in the Masoretic text? Does it say that in the Greek Septuagint? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, you know, what is the most authoritative source of the Old Testament manuscript? If it is the Greek Septuagint, the Yahweh name, none of that shit is in there. So, I don't know. Anyways, let's see. Or Yahweh, none of that. The name Yahweh is not in the Greek Septuagint, like at all. So, if it's 1,000 years older than the Leningrad Codex, then where everybody acts like the name Yahweh is in there over 100 and something times. It's like, yeah, because the Masoretes added it after the fact. Like, what do you even mean, bro? So, Jesus Christ was tortured and unalived, which is used the M word, which he was M-worded, as the result of the intrigue of the men of the Temple of Solomon who hated and feared him. They were steeped in Egyptian, Babylonian, and Phoenician mysticism, or Talmudism, if you will, which is, as I've said, ancient Babylonian mysticism. And what does that say right there? Babylonian mysticism. I know what I'm talking about. I know a thing or two about a thing or two. But people just think I'm some crazy conspiracy theorist. It's like, no, bro. I like to read books. I like to know things. Sports ball, like, it's kind of pointless, and watching shows and TV and just like, unless it's like nonfiction, I do enjoy watching certain YouTube channels and, videos about certain topics. I've actually just found a channel on the Byzantine Empire, and I can't wait to watch some of their videos. Anyways, Masonry does not believe in unaliving a man in just any odd old way. I'm sorry, any old way. And in the JFK mission, it went to incredible lengths and took great risk in order to make this heinous act of theirs correspond to the ancient fertility oblation of the unaliving of the king, end quote. Michael A. Hoffman explains that the three hobos arrested at the time of the in Dallas were at least as important symbolically, you see that, as operationally. So they will do this. They won't even do these unalivings for real. They'll just do them symbolically and make everyone think that it was done, because the emotive part, the energy, it's a ritual, like energy harvesting is what it is. So it doesn't matter whether they really unalived him or not. What matters is that the entire country thought that they did. Does that make sense? And that's what it's saying here. It's saying, that they were at least as important symbolically as operationally. So that tells me that it really doesn't matter whether they did it or not. If, as long as it was perceived to have been done and it elicited the right energy that they wanted it to, then it doesn't matter. Okay, so, and that they comprise the, quote, three unworthy craftsmen of masonry. Quote, this symbolism is at once a telling psychological blow against the victim and his comrades, a sign of frustrated inquiry, the supposedly senseless nature of any quest into the authentic nature of the unalivers, and a mirror or doppelganger of the three unalivers who execute the actual unaliving. And just think of the, red rum backwards. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, quote, three unworthy craftsmen, end quote, of masonry, part of the rites of initiation for the master mason, which is a third degree of masonry, are dramatic. You hear that? As they, quote, reveal the most enduring and most important mystery of all Masonic ritual, the legend of the unalived master. After brief ceremonies, the candidate is blindfolded as the worshipful master begins to tell him the story of the unaliving of Hiram Abiff, the master builder of Solomon's temple. He explains that three assailants who demanded they be told the secrets of the master mason attacked Abiff. After Abiff refused to divulge the secrets, he is unalived. Once King Solomon is told that the Grand Master was disappeared, Solomon orders that all the workers search for the missing Grand Master. Finally, King Solomon is told that the three fellow craftsmen, Jubela, Jubelo, and Jubelum, are missing, end quote. The three unalivers, or shmashmashins, are eventually captured and unalived on the orders of King Solomon. Quote, thus ends the initiation of the Master Mason, most interesting of the 3 degrees because it contains the unexplained allegory that gave Freemasonry its central identification with the construction of the Temple of Solomon, end quote. As for the three Mashmashins themselves, Perry Raymond Russo told a New Orleans grand jury that CIA agent David Ferry said, quote, regarding the Mashmashination of JFK that, quote, there would have to be a minimum of 3 people involved. 2 of the persons would shoot diversionary shots and the third shot the good shot, end quote. Ferry said that one of the 3 would have to be the, quote, scapegoat. He also said that Ferry discoursed on the availability of exit, saying that the sacrificed man would give the other 2 time to escape. The Warren Commission. Quote, Mason Lyndon Johnson appointed Mason Earl Warren to investigate the death of Catholic Kennedy. Mason and member of the 33rd degree General R. Ford. All of our freaking presidents were Freemasons. You know that, right? And I think, honestly, because I've heard before that, like, the U.S., I think we had, like, I don't know, like maybe 7 or so presidents before George Washington. But it's my assumption that the reason they call him the first is because maybe he was the first Freemason president, because I know that George Washington was a Freemason, and that all the ones that have come after him have had to have been in the secret society, because nobody that's not in the club can run this country. You know what I mean? Into the ground is what they're doing now. Anyways, Okay. Gerald R. Ford was instrumental in suppressing what little evidence of a conspiratorial nature reached the commission. Responsible for supplying information to the commission was Mason and member of the 33rd degree, J. Edgar Hoover. Former CIA director and Mason Allen Dulles was responsible for most of his agency's data supplied to the panel. You see what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, we've investigated ourselves and found ourselves guilty of no wrongdoing. Like, that's what it's giving here. Quote, is it paranoid to be suspicious of the findings of the panel on these grounds? Would it be paranoid to suspect a panel of Nazis appointed to investigate the death of a J, or to suspect a commission of a Klansman appointed to investigate the death of a Negro, end quote? Dr. Albert Mackey, Mason, member of the 33rd degree, foremost Masonic historian of the 19th century, writing in the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, defined hoodwink as, quote, a symbol of the secrecy, silence, and darkness in which the mysteries of our art should be preserved from the unhallowed gaze of the profane, end quote, which just means the uninitiated, the profane. That's what they consider us. So, you know, we've got the Freemasons considering us the profane, and we've got the Jays considering us the goy. Anyways, quote, that is how they see us, as, quote, profane, as Cowans, which is outsiders, unclean and too perverted to look upon their hallowed truths. Yes, murder, sexual atrocities, mind control, attacks against the people of the United States, all of these things are so elevated, so lofty and holy as to be beyond the view of mere humans. And it apparently is, because everybody thinks all this stuff is just conspiracy theories. It's like well-documented shit. Truth or consequences? Quote, District Attorney for New Orleans, James Garrison, was supported by, quote, Truth or Consequences Club, and is alleged to have been an ex-FBI agent and to have been mentally disturbed at one time. That's usually what they say about people that try to tell the truth. Jim Garrison was an outsider in the secret society machinations of the FBI and may very well have been pharmacologically or hypnotically, induced to set up his ill-fated investigation and the position he acquired in the Truth or Consequences Commission. Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, is a town located on the 33rd degree of parallel latitude, and near the same latitude John Fitzgerald Kennedy became an oblation, and on the same latitude as the chief temple on this planet in the minds of sorcerers, namely the Temple of Solomon at Jerusalem, which was once located there and is sworn to be rebuilt on this 33rd degree. In New Mexico? Really? That's weird. Quote, in a literal alchemical sense, the making manifest of all that is hidden is the accomplishment of the third law of the alchemist and is, as yet, unfulfilled or at least not completed. That sounds like the revelation of the method, you know, making manifest all that is hidden. The revelation of the method, isn't that like a I don't know, that might be some J-ish secret society crap, but I feel like there's something called the revelation of the method where basically they have to tell us, you know, in plain sight what they're going to do. And that's how they get away with it, because nobody would believe that they would just make a movie about it and show you what they're going to do, or put it on The Simpsons, for instance. In multiple freaking episodes, they have gone ham on telling us stuff. Anyways, okay. So, that's absolutely wild. In a literal alchemical sense, the making manifest of all that is hidden is the accomplishment of the third law of the alchemist and is, as yet, unfulfilled or at least not completed. The other two have been the creation and destruction of primordial matter, the detonation of the first atomic bomb at the Trinity site at White Sands, New Mexico, on the 33rd degree of parallel. Breaking apart and joining together are the first principles of alchemy. The atomic bomb broke apart the positive and negative, male and female elements that compose primordial matter, culminating in thousands of years of alchemical speculation and practice. The unaliving of the king at the Trinity site at Dealey Plaza, Dallas, near the 33rd degree of latitude. Quote, Only the repetition of information presented in conjunction with knowledge of this mechanism of making manifest of all that is hidden provides the sort of boldness and will which can demonstrate that we are aware of all the enemies, all the opponents, all the tricks and gadgetry, and yet we are still not dissuaded that we work for the truth for the sake of the truth. Let the rest take upon themselves and their children the consequences of their actions. End quote. The alchemical of ritual red rum. Red rum. Michael Hoffman, author of Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare, and an expert on the Kennedy assassination, explains, quote, what ought to be unambiguous to any student of mass psychology is the almost immediate decline of the American people in the wake of this shocking televised slaughter. And they did it again with Charlie Kirk. I mean, even though I don't think it was on TV, it was all over Facebook, which is the new TV. And although, you know, a lot of us are more wise to it, it definitely had a profound effect on the country. I wouldn't say as nearly as devastating as JFK, though, because that was a much simpler, much more wholesome, like innocent time. You know, now we live in Sodom and Gomorrah, pretty much. Okay. So, there are many indicators of the transformation. Within a year, Americans had largely switched from softer tone, naturally colored cotton clothing to garish colored artificial polyesters. Wow. Popular music became louder, faster, and more cacophonous. Drugs appeared for the first time outside the bohemian subculture ghettos in the mainstream. Extremes of every kind came into fashion because everybody was traumatized. That's what trauma does to someone, okay? Revolutions in cognition and behavior were on the horizon, from the Beatles to Charles Manson, from free love to LSD, and that was all through this place. I mean, they brought all these ideas, all of this music, all this, it was all put upon the people. It wasn't like it just kind of happened in a vacuum. No, it was all given to them. The drugs, the music, it was all presented to the people, and them being traumatized went for it. Because I literally lived that in my teenage years. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, quote, the unalivers were not caught. The Warren Commission was a whitewash. There was a sense that the men who ordered the assassination were grinning somewhere over cocktails, and out of this, a nearly psychedelic wonder seized the American population, an awesome shiver before the realization that whoever could kill a president of the United States in broad daylight and get away with it could get away with anything. And I feel like even more so we're now mentally screwed because we've got basically all this Epstein crap. I mean, you know, and we see nothing's happening to these people either, and nothing's going to happen to them, and nobody's doing shit about it. Somebody, I'm not going to say what needs to be done because this video will definitely get taken down. Anyway, quote, a hidden government behind the visible government of these United States became painfully obvious in a kind of subliminal way and lent an undercurrent of the hallucinogenic to our reality. Welcome to Oz, thanks to the men behind Oswald and Ruby. Quote, there was a transfer of power in the collective group mind, the American masses, from the public power of the elected frontman, chief executive, to an unelected invisible college capable of terminating him with impunity. Quote, for the first time in their history since the 1826 Masonic assassination of writer William Morgan, Americans were forced to confront the vertiginous reality of a hidden power ruling their world. Sir James Fraser, writing in The Golden Bough, a study in magic and religion, explains that when, quote, the divine king is murdered by one who is himself stronger or craftier, those powers of, quote, divinity, which were the king's, are, quote, sympathetically and, quote, contagiously transferred from the vanquished to the victor. Quote, the entry of this awareness into the subconscious group dreaming mind of the American masses instituted a new simulacrum. The shocking introduction of a diametrically different new, quote, reality is a classic scenario of another phase of alchemical programming known to the cryptocracy as claymores. Quote, now the American people were forced to confront a scary alternative reality, the reality of a shadow government over which they had neither control or knowledge. The shepherding process was thus accelerated with a vengeance. Avant-garde advertising, music, politics, and news would hereafter depict, quote, especially in the electronic media, sometimes fleetingly, sometimes openly, a shadow side of reality, an underground, amoral funhouse current associated with extreme sex, extreme violence, and extreme speed. Quote, the static images of the suit and tie talking heads of establishment, religion, government, politics, and business were subtly shown to be subordinate to the shadow state, which the American people were gradually getting a bigger glimpse of out of the corner of their collective eye. The interesting function of this phenomenon is that it simultaneously produces both terror and adulation and undercuts any offensive against it among its recipients, which does not possess the same jump cut speed and funhouse ambiance. Quote, there is a sense of existing in a palace of marvels manipulated by beautiful but satanic princes possessed of so much knowledge, power, and experience as to be vastly superior to the rest of humanity. They have to be everywhere. They have done everything. They run the show that mesmerizes us. We are determined to watch it. We are transfixed and desperate to see their newest production, their latest thrilling revelation, even when the thrills are solely based upon the further confirmation of our dehumanization, end quote. As author and JFK investigator J.G. Ballard explains, quote, in this overlit realm ruled by images of the space race and the Vietnam War, the Kennedy assassination, and the suicide of Marilyn Monroe, a unique alchemy of the imagination was taking place. The demise of feeling and emotion, the death of affect, presided like a morbid sun over the playground of that ominous decade. Quote, the role assigned to us is that of zombies, called upon by our shadow masters to perform bit parts and act as stock characters in their spectacular show. Sorry. This mesmerizing process produces a demoralized, cynical, double mind, quote. And what does the Bible say about double-mindedness? Something about an unstable man is double-minded in all his ways. So, you know, like, and these fuckers know this, and it's like psychological warfare nonstop on the people. So if you don't have Jesus and the Spirit of truth, bro, you're quite frankly effed. And those of you like elevating Yahweh over Jesus, are you insane? Better wake up. Better wake up. Okay, double-minded, as in subliminal messages, as in mysterious synchronicities, as in occult realm which swept through post-war events, with a rapier as we look down the barrel of a gun, exposed the unctuous underbelly of a yet-to-be-identified form. Perception changes, and we find ourselves back in the cave, watching shadows on the wall, believing them to be real. All the tradition tells us that some, quote, experts go the wrong way. The, quote, brothers of the left-hand path, quote, end quote, or, quote, black magicians, end quote. They use their hard-won knowledge and insight to further their own very personal and very often sinister ends. A program of propaganda, mass trauma, celebrity worship, and red rum. Reconstituting our cultural archetypes into malleable imprints, an esoteric ride that transcends our current slouching shadow play, nervously awaiting the next shock. Rihanna. The curtain is drawn and we are back to the real world. The coffin has been removed and the checkered floor scrubbed with polish. Lights, camera, music. So what does a subliminal message look like? Here is one example. Robin Rihanna Fenty, and better known simply as Rihanna, is a Barbadian-born R&B recording artist. Her 2000 album, Good Girl Gone Bad, which peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200 chart, featured 5 top 10 hits, including 3 U.S. number 1 hit singles, amongst them Umbrella. She has also amassed over 1 billion views on YouTube, becoming only the 4th artist to ever do so. If you pay close attention to her video for Umbrella, you may notice something very disturbing about it. A digitally mastered image that simply does not fit into the video unless there was an ulterior reason to include it, like a subliminal message. For example, in one of the frames, Rihanna spread her arms, pushing away the rainwater falling on her. As a result, if you freeze frame it, you can clearly see an image of a goat's head. Or is it a Baphomet's head? Are we hallucinating? Is it trick photography? And if it isn't, then what's it doing there? Perhaps it was an accident, a quirk of nature. Perhaps we are making too much of it. Or perhaps not. Basic fluid dynamics will tell you that her body and arm movements cannot create the liquid formation in the clearly visible form of a goat's head. Not only that, but the liquid clearly comes out from the location of Rihanna's womb. Exaggerating? Keep in mind that music videos are created in fully controlled studio environments. Therefore, if something is in the music video, you can be certain that it is meant to be there. Let me give you another example. In Eminem's Mosh video clip, there is an image of the Eye of Providence, an all-seeing eye that can be tracked and traced back to Egyptian mythology, and the Eye of Horus. Many interpret it as the all-seeing eye of secret societies controlling the world from behind the scenes. It's there, painted over an image of American soldiers with the headline reading, quote, Congress okays $87 billion for Iraq, end quote. Most people understand the Eye of Providence as the all-seeing eye, the symbol of Illuminati and one world government, but it is also the symbol of the Supreme Being, the great architect of the universe, because it appears on every U.S. $1 bill. Above a topless pyramid, a Masonic symbol for the unfinished Temple of Solomon. However, there are more sinister interpretations. And let's see where we are. Okay, we're almost to the end, so I might go a little bit over 45 minutes. Okay, this next section is called the Cult of Isis. The Eye of Horus formed part of an evil cult of Isis, quote, created as a synthetic religion under the Ptolemaic conquerors of Egypt. Wasn't it Ptolemy who had, quote unquote, the Torah that was, quote unquote, in Hebrew translated to Greek? I don't know. I just feel like something with this background, with this ish, is like weird. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyways. Okay. The cult was created by the priests of the Delphic cult of Apollo, who used pre-existing deities of the Egyptian pantheon to construct a new religious cult based chiefly on Babylonian Hellenic models. The creation of the cult of Stoicism by the same priests during the same Ptolemaic period represents the same ideology as the cult of Isis in a semi-religious form. Quote, the Ptolemaic cults of Isis and the Stoic cults were the ruling pagan cults of Imperial Rome, introduced to Rome by the priests of Apollo. In creating the cult of Isis, the priests of the cult of Apollo at Delphi used the selected names of deities from the Egyptian pantheon to create a cult combining the Babylonian cultism of Apollo with the Orphic and Dionysian cults of Greece. The Orphic, or quote, death cults of Greece were centered around the figure of Osiris. The Egyptian goddess Isis was given the legendary and personal properties of the mother of Dionysus, and the Oedipal incestuous mythology around the three combined figures, Osiris, Isis, and Horus, was based on the mythology of the Phrygian cult of Dionysus, end quote, or the Roman equivalent of the cult of Bacchus. There are other examples. In rapper Prodigy's video clip, The Life, there is a split-second image of the all-seeing eye painted on the wall. What's it doing there, and what does it have to do with the song? Nothing. In Lady Gaga's Alejandro video clip, the lead male dancer had an imprint of a pyramid and an all-seeing eye on the back of his jeans jacket, while Lady Gaga was making an all-seeing eye symbol or sign with her right hand while bending over his outstretched leg. Not to be outdone, U2's, quote, Yahweh is full of Masonic images from the all-seeing eye, on a cross to a pyramid with the Eye of Providence. Well, ain't that some shit? If that doesn't tell you right there, these people are telling you the God they worship, okay? And if they're worshiping Yahweh, you better freaking watch out, okay? These are high-level occultists, dark magicians. I mean, holy shit. Anyway, sorry. In Rihanna's umbrella, she is walking on a checkered tiled Masonic floor. The Masonic mosaic pavement theme is also present in Jay Sean's Down video clip. We now know that Freemasonry's origins are linked to the once powerful and wealthy Knights Templar order. The Knights Templar basis for this mosaic pavement is simple. The battle banner of the Knights, the Beauchamp, was a vertical design consisting of a black block above a white block below. The black block signified the black world of sin the Templar had left behind, and the white block symbolizes the pure life he had adopted as a soldier for Christ. So, why do secret societies hide things in plain sight? Among many reasons, according to their belief system, to influence world politics at the most urgent time through reverse psychology. Symbols, don't forget, also represent territorial marks of ownership. By controlling all of the major corporations on Earth, which they fucking do, okay, and banks and everything, and embedding Masonic and occult references in the media subliminally or otherwise, secret societies are projecting their strength. The power of the image is not only visual, it is a sophisticated tool designed to convey meaning on the one hand and disorient on the other. It is a form of psychological assault with the number one target to destabilize the victim's rational belief system. Given that the references make little reasonable sense to most people, we simply tend to assume that the symbols are a coincidence and reject out of hand the existence of the occult. Needless to say, Hollywood is the best tool available to project their subliminal message across. In the movie Angel and Demons, for example, the Illuminati are referred to by name. Hollywood's rendition of the Illuminati theme makes them look very evil and very outdated, a sect of sorts from the bygone age, clinging on to their ancient rituals and quaint symbols such as keys and maps. This is a clever tactic, as the viewer scoffs at anyone who mentions the Illuminati by name outside of the prearranged and controlled Hollywood environment. Kind of like flat Earth, like elementary school has taught you to think about flat Earth. Let's take a closer look at the earlier mentioned, quote, Rain Man and, quote, umbrella. They may be defined in the following way. Umbrella, number one, collapsible canopy that protects from the rain or sun. 2, object like an umbrella. Or 3, something that gives support, protection, or authority. Umbrella in Latin also translates to shadow under the influence of umbra. Umbra can also mean phantom or ghost. The Necronomicon. The name Umbra appears in the Necronomicon, which is a fictional, quote-unquote, occult book of demonology by H.P. Lovecraft. I didn't know that was written by him. When the word rain is used as an individual's name, it takes on another meaning. The name rain means abundant blessings from above. By combining the different definitions of the word rain, we can come up with some other possible meanings. Someone who likes to make it rain, throwing a lot of money away. Someone who can give you any woman or man you desire. Or someone who can make you rich and famous. You might be asking yourself if there is any physical proof of a, quote, Rain Man in Rihanna's video. There is indeed, and your subconscious mind picked it up near the beginning of the video. The image in question is of Rihanna inside a triangle, bent on her knees, head bowed, body leaning forward, arms pulled back over her shoulder blades. However, several things immediately stand out about this frame. First of all, it appears that Rihanna is bent over, her head bowed low, her face against the floor, her legs are parted, and her arms are outstretched, angled behind her. The frame is dualistic in nature. It tells two stories at the same time. When you look at her hair, there are only a few strands falling forward to the ground. How is this possible if her head is fully bowed? Due to gravity, shouldn't all of her hair be leaning down towards the ground? Secondly, there are anatomical impossibilities present in the image. The distance between Rihanna's bowed head and shoulders is anatomically disproportionate. Given the relative position of her trapezius muscles and pectoral major muscles, Rihanna's neck would have to be 11 inches long in order for her head to reach that low. From the position in the frame, her neck would also have to be stretched downward at an anatomically impossible angle. But this is not all. The fact that we can simultaneously see the trapezius muscles and her pectoralis major muscles indicates that this frame has been doctored, changed, or digitally edited. Trapezius muscles and the pectoralis major muscles are posterior and anterior respectively. In other words, they are opposite of each other, one existing at one's back and the other at one's front. Then how is it possible that we are able to see both of them simultaneously? And also, I kind of think that Rihanna might be a transgender. Anyways, obviously, the image was altered, changed, and adapted to show something different. Look at the image again. Eyes, eyebrows, small forehead, snout, mouth, horns. As a result of this alteration, the image we are actually seeing is of a Rain Man or the devil. Why did we not see this in the first place? Because the frame which creates the subliminal stimuli is located below an individual's absolute threshold or conscious perception, which makes it only accessible on a subconscious level. Visual stimuli may be quickly flashed before an individual may process them, or flashed and then masked, thereby interrupting the processing. In the movie Gladiator, for example, the character Maximus is taken to be killed and the word, quote, Kennedy flashes on the screen. At the end, when Commodus stabs him, the word appears again. But you missed it, didn't you? Why? Because the frame of film went by so quickly the naked eye could not register it, but your subconscious mind could have. In the end, one is left wondering whether it is possible for Hollywood and the music industry to have been used as a tool of secret special interests, and whether the selection of themes, scripts, actors, studios, producers, directors was at times and during certain periods of international or domestic tensions politically motivated or the result of an intelligence agenda of far-sighted psychological warfare. And to that question, I say absolutely yes. CIA and Hollywood are like intrinsically linked. We know that that's been proven multiple times. So anyways, I'm gonna stop there. That was wild, bro. That I did not know that you too had a song called Yahweh. So like that's even more confirmation for me. Y'all need to look this up, this Yahweh character, okay? Go to Ben Born Again's channel. He's got all the proof you need. I've got OBS now on my laptop. Now that I have like freed up some space, I'm going to try to like go upgrade to another phone, hold on to this phone to use it as like a secondary camera or something, and then use my other camera on my laptop so that I can like put some stuff on the screen for y'all to see and like stuff for me to react to. Anyways, I love you guys. If you sat and listened to me read all of this, thank you so freaking much. I love you so much. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I just want to be able to go live, and I have to have 100 subs to do that. And right now I'm at 25, and I'm so grateful for all 25 of you. It might even be 26 now. But anyways, if you made it this far, I freaking love you so much, and I thank you so much for watching and listening and coming along on this journey to learn about the craziness going on in the world. And I hope that, if anything, this has helped you realize the depth and the breadth and the length and the height of the BS that surrounds us. It's all around us. Anyways, I'm out.